The NGX just changed the rules on how stock prices move, and if you invest in Nigerian stocks, this affects every single position in your portfolio. Let's get into it. The Securities and Exchange Commission approved new NGX price movement rules on June 16, 2026. Now, before I explain what changed, let me tell you what the old rule was. Under the previous system, a uniform minimum of 100,000 shares had to be traded in a single transaction before the price of any stock could move. It didn't matter whether the stock was 50 naira per share, 500 naira per share, 1,000 naira per share or so. Every single stock on the NGX needed 100,000 shares to be sold or bought in a single transaction for their prices to move. The problem, the rule applied to both penny stocks and heavyweight stocks equally, which in reality made no sense and created a lot of liquidity problems for high-priced equities, especially. The NGX has now scrapped this uniform rule entirely. The new system divides stocks into three groups based on their share price. Group A, stocks trading at 1,000 naira and above. These stocks now need only 10,000 shares to be sold or bought in a single transaction to trigger a price change. As of right now, only 9 stocks qualify here. We're talking Seplat Energy, Aradel, Airtel Africa, Nestle, Dangote Cement, and a handful of others. Under the old rule, for you to even move Seplat's price by even 1 kobo required 1.136 billion naira in a single transaction. Under the new rule, that minimum now drops to 113 million naira, a 90% reduction, which is very massive. Group B, these are stocks trading between 500 naira to 999 naira per share. They now need 50,000 shares to be bought or sold in a single transaction to trigger a price change. Currently, MTN Nigeria and Boa Foods sit here. The capital required to move MTN's price has been cut by approximately 50% from what it was before. Group C, these are stocks trading below 500 naira. Nothing changed about them. They still stay at the threshold of 100,000 shares to be bought or sold in a single transaction to trigger price movement. And here's the part I need you to pay close attention to. This group C, contains virtually every bank stock and consumer goods name that you can think of. GTCO, Zenith Bank, Access Holding, UBA, First Holdco, Fidelity Bank, Dangote Sugar, Nigerian Breweries. All of them are in Group C. So, for the stocks most Nigerians buy and trade in a lot, the threshold remains the same. 100,000 shares in a single transaction will trigger a price change. Now, what does this mean for you as an everyday NGX investor? One is that price discovery becomes easier and gets better for high-priced stocks. For example, Seplat. With the old rule, it meant that Seplat depended heavily on institutional investors to be able to trigger price changes for them. Because, institutional investors, they buy in bulk. Because if you think about it, the volume requirement to trigger price movement for Seplat was too much, and an individual investor might not be able to buy in that quantity needed to trigger a price change for Seplat. So institutional investors would be able to manipulate prices however they want because they're able to move prices. So you see, the new rule is kind of better now. The new rule changes that dynamic entirely, and now it makes these stock prices, these movements, more susceptible to genuine market activity, no longer manipulated prices that you see. 2. Small trades no longer move prices artificially. Any transaction below the minimum threshold for each group will be classified as a small trade and it won't affect the officially reported price. This is actually good news because this means that the prices you see on your brokerage app will be more accurate. Basically, a more accurate reflection of what the market genuinely thinks a stock is worth. So yeah, it's good news. And now 3, for Group C investors, which is basically almost all of us, the threshold stays the same, but the slower price movement under the new rule means that your stock prices move slower than before. Don't get me wrong, that's not necessarily bad for long-term investors, but it is worth knowing that you're actively trading. This is part of a broader upgrade of the Nigerian capital market. T+1 settlement, extended trading hours, and now this. The NGX is building a more modern, more efficient market. And as investors, we need to understand every little change and how it affects how our money works for us in the market. So I hope this helps. Share this with your investment circle and drop your questions below. And as always, follow me, like, share to anyone who fancies content that revolves around the US and the Nigerian stock market. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Bye bye. Mwah.